Welcome one and all to Umami Manga. I'm one of your hosts, Petter, and with me I've got my co-host James
Sup?
and our special guest Lucas coming back.
Hey, thanks for having me again. Thanks for letting me be a part of this beautiful conversation here.
Thank you for joining us. For those of you who don't know, Lucas is a friend of ours. He was first on our Volume 4 discussion back in January or whenever that was. But yeah, now he's joining us again for Volume 11, which, real quick backstory, I'm not going to go waste a lot of time on this, but basically Lucas was supposed to come back already for the Volume 8 discussion. He ended up not being able to make it for that.
Yeah,
So
sadly felt really sick that day. That was
right.
it was a really awful day. Let's just not.
Yeah. But anyway, he was supposed to after 8. He was supposed
Mhm.
to come back for the volume 12 discussion, but I changed it to 11 because, well, firstly, that made it so that the wait wouldn't be as long, and also I changed it to 11 because I know that
This is
Lucas
my volume. This is
is
people let me welcome you to Hayasaka-sama. Love is working overtime. This whole volume is my thing.
yes. Throughout this discussion, we're going to be talking about the characters one by one, and at the end, we'll talk about the comedy in this volume and about the romance in this volume. So let's kick it off by talking about Kaguya Shinomiya.
The little girl starts off with her problems on the new phone and discovering messenger services.
Yeah, she just knows next to nothing about the ways of a smartphone, which you kind of take for granted. We've had smartphones for so long, and I mean, I don't know about you guys, but when I was in high school, smartphones were considered for the rich people, not necessarily the middle class military upbringing I was.
Yeah, it was still something new back then. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was still something
absolutely.
new. And then when I got to college, uh, and then a couple of years later, that's when it became this like everyone had a smartphone, so you had to learn all this new stuff. So I guess it kind of harkens back to my own experience with understanding how apps work and everything like that. But
Mm.
it obviously didn't have anything to this extent with Kaguya.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
revealing, I guess.
I mean, I can understand it. I mean, if I would now, for the first time ever, open WhatsApp, the messenger service we use here in Germany the most, yeah, there are these blue check marks once a person has like read and received the message, but nobody explains that to you. So like, if there's
True.
nobody introducing you to it, like there's just okay, there's blue check marks. What the hell is it? Yeah, well, you don't know.
hmm Later on in the story, we see that, at least with studying, the phone has become a huge distraction for her.
Yeah.
uh, Partly because of the line app, but I think it's also just the new features and potential texting and whatnot that can come from having a new phone like that. So that can be distracting. Girl, I've been there. I struggle with that. Not even just with school, but out, with work and everything. The phone is just such an easy distraction
Totally.
for various things. So it's funny. Even a genius like her can be quickly distracted.
Yeah.
Although I bet she's secretly hoping for a text from Miyuki every time she hears it ping. But anyway.
Mm. Yeah, I think especially Kaguya is really like receptive to this kind of distraction because if you think about it, her only like social contacts and opportunities to like interact with the outside world, interact with her friends and normal people. Well, normal people in quotation marks. But still, she only could do that at school when she like went outside to them, when she actually went to meet them, and now she finally got the opportunity to be always connected to them.
For
So
sure.
now being able to
Yeah.
like always talk to your friends, to be just able to like, hey, someone wants to talk to me, not just because I'm right
hmm
next to them, I'm there, but because well, they even if I'm not physically there, they want to talk to me. They want to have something to do with me. It's I think a feeling that especially for her is really distracting is a big part why well she gets so much or she gives the phone so much attention later in the studying arc.
Mm. Yeah. I actually I had like Kaguya. I also had a flip phone for a long time compared to most other people around me.
Those were the shit,
Um,
man.
I I had my flip phone until 1 year through college.
I
And
think it was the same way.
oh, cool. And it really, like, I didn't, before that, I couldn't understand, like, I didn't really see the appeal. I was like, well, I have this phone, I can send texts and I can make calls. Like, what else do I need? Of course, there was a lot that I was missing out on. And you don't really, or at least for me, it was hard to kind of understand what I was missing out on until I actually had it in my hands, kind of. And I think it could be the similar with Kaguya, because,
Oh, 100%.
yeah, I don't think she ever really thought of it as being as good as it is, or as
Yeah,
useful,
yeah.
and yeah.
I mean, she did really stay away from a smartphone for a long time on her own volition, I think, didn't she?
I mean, yeah, she was like sentimentally attached to her flip phone because she had had it for so many years.
Yeah, and then oh yeah, the whole memory stuff was yeah, well, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that was the previous volume.
I remember, yeah.
But one of my favorite parts or chapters from Kaguya, this, well, actually, it was kind of two chapters. Her chapters with you, or well, there was a chapter where she started tutoring you, and well, she doesn't just tutor him; she actually gives him love advice.
Right.
Because he opens up to her, and she. Well, I thought she was giving pretty good love advice, which is funny because, of course, it's far easier to give those, to say those things than to actually do them.
Exactly.
And even,
it really is.
and later on in the volume, you and Miyuki kind of do the same thing with Maki as well. So we had that going like on
Senpai.
two fronts.
It was kind of a theme for this volume.
Yeah,
Everyone
yeah.
giving advice to everybody else, but not being able to actually put that advice into action to their own lives.
Right.
Because they're all cowards.
Definitely.
Just like me.
And me. Hey, you're not alone.
No,
But-
yeah, just like all of us. No, just kidding.
Yeah. But I thought that was a really nice chapter, though. I mean, it was kind of, it had kind of been leading up since a few volumes back, where Kaguya helped you with like getting, like, lending him her dress and like kind of bonding with him that way. I think so. I think that was when they started getting closer, and now this is like proof of that relationship between them really having grown and continued to, be there. I think that's really sweet.
I agree. To me, it's so almost family-like in that, he's a little brother to her almost. I think I may have mentioned this in a previous episode, but I still feel it now. They have a nice friendship where they can, or at least Ishigami feels like he can open up to her and talk about some of these things. And Kaguya wants to help him and support him just like she would a younger sibling or something like that. At least that's how I view it as. And not just with the romance thing, but helping him study and just do better in general in his academics. That's been an ongoing theme throughout the manga, and it's great that someone is willing to take the time to help him, to put expectations onto him. And it just shows how, in that case, it shows how good of a friend Kaguya can be, but also it's exactly what Ishigami needs for his own, sense of self-worth, improving his lack of self-esteem.
Yeah, even if it's like little step by step that we see here.
Yeah, even if it's little step by step, and I think Kaguya is the perfect person to do that.
Totally.
Yeah. Also, I would say like the relationship between the two, it's also shown in how she acts like in small details towards you. Towards the end, when they're given their results of the exam, the little fidget dance Kaguya did in the bathroom on the first exams, alone, away from public eyes. This time she did it right in front of you, and also when she was talking to him and was trying to like say like, yeah, you like Tsubame, right? And like tries to encourage him and also like tries to lure out what he truly wants to say it. You see her facial expressions and also especially her eyes change a lot during those conversations and how she acts towards him. And it's really different to how she normally acts to even her other friends. It shows, I think, that Kaguya really is only like this to people where she feels really, really comfortable around. To like be more of her like true self, to be more of like this changing person that can be serious and deceiving with cold eyes in one moment, and more like a cheekish little girl making fun of you in the next moment. And this switching really is something that happens a lot around you, which I think shows how comfortable she really is with him, and on a really friend level, like this whole thing of like, these two, even if there is no love, there is this brotherly love that you mentioned that you can feel between those two.
I agree.
Yeah. And the first chapter in that little storyline is called, it's Battle 104, Kaguya Shinomiya's Impossible Demand, A Cowrie a Swallow Gave Birth to Part 1. A long title, first of all.
Yeah.
I mean, aren't we used to it by now? I mean,
there's been a couple, but I feel like so far this might be the longest one so far.
Yeah.
Anyway, do you guys know what that's a reference to?
Let me read it again.
I feel like I should, but from what I understand, or at least what I took from it, is that Kaguya is taking the opportunity to, raise Ishigami, even though that he's kind of a different breed of person than she is. But I don't know exactly what the story is.
Right. So, I mean, obviously, like, I think the Impossible Demand might have, or maybe it's up for debate, but I feel like the Impossible Demand referred to in the title is Kaguya basically telling you that he must get, like, to the top 50. Because that was basically impossible for him to do.
Right.
Because he gave it his all and still didn't make it. So it was impossible.
Yeah.
But the cowrie that a swallow gave birth to is a reference to the tale of the bamboo cutter, which, again, it's one of those little things where Kaguya-sama, Love is War, borrows things here and there from the tale of the bamboo cutter about Princess Kaguya. And basically, just short little thing about, like, in what way that is referenced. In that old tale, Princess Kaguya has 5 suitors, 5 men who want to marry her, but she doesn't want to marry any of them. And so, in order to just kind of get rid of them, she gives each of those men an impossible task for them to finish. Basically, she tells each of them to fetch her something, or to bring her something that's just literally impossible to get. And so, the thing she asks for from one of the men is for him to bring a cowrie shell born from a swallow.
Interesting.
So it's one of those little things.
Gotcha. Give me 1 sec, guys. I gotta look up what tsubame is in Japanese, because tsubame may be swallow.
Oh.
Yeah, tsubame is a barn swallow.
Oh.
So
interesting.
That may be implying the, the potentially impossible task of Ishigami and Tsubame getting together.
Interesting. Definitely the fact that her name means swallow. That's really cool.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. I mean, I'm not saying I don't know how the story goes or anything like that. It's just it's interesting because I didn't think too much about her name and swallow until you brought up that story.
Right.
And I was like, wait a minute, isn't Tsubame a type of bird? So
right, cool.
I'm just sitting here like the typical manga reader, being like, yeah, those are cool names, and then here I'm suddenly like, oh yeah, there's this reference that like completely makes sense, and swallow, and you're just like, what?
James, can you believe that you and I are teaching Lucas something new about Chika?
I feel honored.
Chapter 218, and I feel ashamed. I'm not worthy.
I'm just glad it goes both ways. That it's not just you coming up with like these good observations. But yeah, that's really cool. That's really cool. And I'm always on the lookout for these little references and stuff and nods to the Tale of the Bamboo Cutter. I think that's always fun.
Continue. Going back to Kaguya, unless anybody had any more things on that, I guess it's more about the father. I mean, what a bum not coming to the parent-teacher conference. And it's not just parent-teacher conference, it's what the second years want to do with college and careers. Any normal parent usually would be there to support their son or daughter in in what's potentially a pivotal moment in their life. And he clearly is not there. He doesn't care in the same way as other. I mean, maybe there is some sort of endearment in the fact that she has my blood and therefore I will make sure she has good marriage prospect or something, whatever. I don't know, but clearly it's not a close relationship and one that he probably doesn't expect much for her other than you're going to be a great wife one day kind of a thing. I mean, she has bridegroom training or bride training.
Yeah.
I mean, no one really goes through that in this day of time.
He really doesn't care for her as a person, I would say.
Right. He doesn't care for her as a person. Yeah, you're totally right.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's super tragic, really. Anything more about Kaguya?
Yeah. With the scene of Hayasaka and Kaguya with the battle rap, it's like I really like that scene. I mean, Kaguya here, like she didn't do anything. She just got rented to, which was like the big like emotional impact of that chapter, I would say. I feel like for Kaguya, it became normal that Hayasaka is just there to help her out and to go to all lengths to do it for somehow.
Yeah, she takes her for granted until this volume.
Yeah, exactly. Like she's my sister, but those actions are just for granted. And the first time now she's hearing like, no, this isn't a normal thing.
Yeah, I think honestly that is one of the biggest steps I think in Kaguya's character journey this volume. It was when she basically is told straight up that she hasn't been treating Hayasaka as well as she maybe should have, and to really come to terms with that, and also immediately take action to improve that. So she dealt with it nicely, really well, but it maybe she should have or could have realized it sooner.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about Miyuki Sirogane. MC Shirogane killed it this volume.
Bro. Laying down sick beats, laying down the truth.
Yes. I love how it was teased in the previous volume with just that one panel.
Yes, it was. we were talking about it, and I think I said something like, they don't have to show it because it was really perfect. I mean, if they do, that's fine too. But I thought the joke was nailed it. Yeah. And they go into depth. It's like, oh, okay, that's fine. Let's go. We're doing this. Okay, yeah. I'm ready. And it was so much better than I imagined.
It really is. I mean, it's like what I love the most about that little arc, I guess you could call it, is like just how much effort Miyuki puts into helping Hayasaka out by giving her the message of how you need to kind of let go of those personas and you gotta be yourself, and there's nothing wrong with being yourself. Like that's a beautiful message in its own, and the way he delivered it, or the effort he put into delivering it, was just so admirable, I think.
Yeah, it really is. It's on point for Miyuki, but it makes sense why he would want to tell her in rap when he revealed such a big weakness to her that he can't rap. Is anyone else surprised that Miyuki likes rap? Like that kind of took me by surprise a little bit. I didn't think he would be.
No, never.
But anyway, so I'm glad another thing he's able to overcome is that, and I'm glad he was able to get out his message in a way that really spoke to Hayasaka, I think.
Yeah, totally.
You have to say, for me, this music or like teaching Miyuki something chapter or chapters in this volume, I like them most because here, this one, it is tied to something more story relevant, I would say, or something more like character relevant. Yeah. So
absolutely,
for sure.
The others were like more on the jokey side. Of course, it's still canon, it's still character development and stuff. But here, the first time I felt like, hey, this is not like some spin-off or like some filler episode in anime.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're right.
Talking about Miyuki, I am just flabbergasted that he wants to go to Stanford.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yes.
Where did that come from? This man has been studying French. He's such a hard worker. I mean, I don't know if he knows English. So why is he all of a sudden like, I'm going to go to Stanford? Did your dad go to Stanford? Is this something we didn't know before? Like, I am genuinely confused why he wants to go to California of all places. I mean, California's great and all, but, well, depending on who you ask. But to me, it's like, what purpose does going to an American college, what does it accomplish?
Other than it being prestigious, I guess. I don't know more like other than that. Obviously, I can't. I think Lucas and I can't really speculate here because we kind of know a little bit at least going forward.
So allow me to speculate then.
Go for it.
Please.
I think one potential reasoning, especially based on, how they're always trying to one-up each other. Well, not one-up, but get the other to confess. Maybe, this is probably a little bit of a stretch.
Oh.
Maybe he's saying or thinking, if I say that I'm going to go overseas for school, then it will force anybody who has feelings for me, hint, hint, Kaguya, to confess to me. Problem is, why Stanford? And, it seems a bit convoluted. That sounds almost like something Kaguya would do.
Also, I would probably add to that theory just that in the last page he said, like, yeah, when the culture festival's over and she didn't confess by then, I will do it. That's how the volume ends. So
that's true. He does literally say, I will confess my love.
It's something in the volume where I first felt, hey boys, we're going somewhere.
A good point.
Yeah.
So that does kind of put another dink into my theory. Other than that, I can't think exactly why he would feel compelled to go to, other than maybe since my standing as a commoner is so low compared to her. I mean, it's not like they have nobility classes anymore, but to her high society ways, that I need to go to a foreign prestigious school in order to bump up my my status. And I don't know why it requires to go to America or any other foreign nation. There's plenty of very good colleges in Japan, so I don't. Anyway.
That's also just speculation from me, but as far as I know from someone that I talked to in Japan, it's like when you work with outside companies and have outside contacts and stuff, that's highly valuable because Japan is often very closed off, and having connections or like the ability to communicate or have contacts from university and stuff to the outside, to America, Europe and stuff, that is often valuable to companies in Japan. So I guess raising your standing that way, especially in a more closed off or culturally different country than the Western world, something like this could give you a big benefit, I guess.
Yeah, I guess it depends on what you want to do with your business. I mean,
Yeah.
well, a lot of business people, especially the higher ups, are, depending on how global their company is. Yes, they're going to want you to start learning English, especially if you have to communicate with, American or European branches. I just don't know. I don't know exactly what Miyuki wants to do as a career.
Yeah.
So I guess that depends. Anyway, that's all I have on speculation-wise. I'm really excited to see if, we finally get something with that statement of his. He seems pretty adamant about it.
Definitely. What I really love about the ending of this whole volume is how he gives himself this deadline. And just the fact that he does that is just that one small thing, but just the fact that there is a deadline now really kind of ups the excitement, I feel. Like now we know that at the end of the upcoming culture festival, something will hopefully have happened, at least if he sticks to this. Like if it might be before that, it might be then, or it might not, but like at least the way we're meant to be thinking right now is that something is going to happen soon. And yeah, it's super exciting.
Yeah, it's like from these little skirmishes in between, it seems like at the horizon we finally see a big battle of love.
Basically. Yeah. So do we got anything more on Miyuki?
In the chapter where the study chapter, the test chapter, it starts off the same way, and everything.
Yeah.
But he is just downright devious when it comes to getting that top grade. He's telling people, go take a break or or I mean, last time he was saying studying in the last minute doesn't help or whatever. And then his face after he says that is just so kind of trickstery and devious. You don't really see that face from him very often, so
True.
it was kind of shocking to see.
Yeah.
I mean, when he needs to be, or well, at least in this case, he'll do anything he can
Yep.
to get what he wants, or get that number one spot.
Totally. Yeah. All right then. Let's talk about Chika Fujiwara.
The girl with the many talents.
Yeah, I guess.
How talented is that girl? Like, holy shit! Is there something that girl can't do? I mean,
She can't draw.
oh yeah, right.
And she couldn't rap at the beginning of this, but it was a fresh take on the teacher teaches Miyuki chapters to actually have both of them teaching each other. I really enjoyed that.
Exactly. That is like my number one point. Like you said, it was so refreshing, and I think for Chika, it kind of gave her a bit of development, kind of opened up her mind to a new way of, musical expression. For someone who's so into that type of art, it's nice to see her broaden her horizons in that sense. And yeah, this whole thing was more so of a joke than character progression. But to me, as a Chika fan, that I feel like she's not been getting that much in terms of progression. I think this was really nice to see, even a little bit. Yeah. It's not at the level of Hayasaka, nowhere near, but I'm glad we got this. And I'll be honest, her comedic parts in especially these 3 or 4 chapters were so funny that I was okay. It's fine. You're so precious and hilarious. I love you.
Yeah, and honestly, like kind of sort of on that note, I feel like with Chika, since we don't get as much like I guess proper character development stuff, it's like we take the comedy stuff and kind of twist it into thinking about it as if it was character development.
That's true.
Yeah.
I mean, I do that as well. And like
we have to grasp what you get.
Totally.
There's not much.
Yeah.
I'm grasping at straws.
I think we all do.
Yeah. In general, I would say it sounds so weird when talking about Chika, but when you look at the other characters, I think she's the most craziest, but also the most grounded in like where she is. Like she knows where she is. She knows when she jokes about like, what do you want to become in the future? And just jokes about, I want to be prime minister.
Yeah.
Well, about that, how serious do you think she was, if at all?
No, she was joking.
I know she said she was joking, but
if she would get the opportunity, she would. She totally would. I would agree.
Exactly. This is called grasping at straws. So like we say, it's obviously played off as a joke, but maybe there's a little hint of something that she wants to be. No, I'm kidding. I mean, who knows? She was wanting to, help Miyuki become class president and be his spokesperson or whatever.
Sure.
She thinks highly of herself. But I totally understand that it was a joke. Just fun.
It was like the fun part about that to me, about that little gag, was how at first it doesn't seem like a joke, like as if she is joking.
Yes.
And even the teacher in front of her, like, oh shit.
I mean, I believe
she's serious.
I believed her.
yeah, no, but it's like, and then she said like, yeah, you're supposed to laugh, and like her dad there's like, yeah, that's fine. Like obviously she and her father have the same sense of humor, so they understand when they're joking. So I think it absolutely was clearly her joking,
right.
But it's funny. It's still funny. I think how. I guess to see that kind of humor from her. I don't think we've seen exactly that kind of humor from her in the past. Like just that kind of dry, kind of not super obvious joking.
Yeah, also the self-awareness about herself.
Yeah, honestly.
How that doesn't really fit her image, I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe that's part of it.
Especially, I think normally a lot of her jokes are, or what she finds funny if other people look dumb, not herself. And this moment, I mean, she made fun about herself, and when it, like, I want to be prime minister, like that's ever gonna happen. I mean, it's a bit high. We're grasping at the straws here, boys.
Well, so about that moment though, they do mention that she doesn't want to study piano or go into piano. She'd rather just do piano for fun.
Yeah.
And so it makes me wonder all those times I thought, oh, she'd be great as a music teacher. Is that not something she wants to do? Should she not want to be a teacher because she'd just rather keep making music or playing piano for fun? I'm not. I'm not sure.
I think a certain person burnt that teaching passion out of her.
I was going to say the exact same thing. Maybe she got a little burnt on the whole teaching aspect, but I don't know. I'm interested to see what she would want to do with her life. I don't know. Maybe she's not really thinking about that at the time. Right now, maybe it's just I'll go to college, and if I'm not married by the time I end, I'll do this. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to know in high school what you want to do with the rest of your life.
It really is. I was right there, man.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah. One little thing I still liked about Fujiwara was this small little scene when she went over to Kaguya-sama's house to sleep over. And
Yes.
that's also where we first see the male cross-dresser version of Hayasaka, and her little nosebleed that she got when when she thinks that Miyuki and the male Hayasaka are dating, and it's like,
That killed me, man. Like, oh, so funny. So great timing.
Yeah.
She hasn't had a nosebleed since, was it like volume 3 or 2 or something? And that chapter killed me when she found the shoujo manga.
Yeah.
So she has a very active imagination, I guess I'll say.
Definitely. Yeah, actually, one part I really liked from that part of the story was that it's revealed that Chika has figured out that Yu likes Tsubame.
Exactly.
And I think that's really good perception on her part, because usually I don't think she is that perceptive.
Right.
But somehow she's been able to figure that out.
Yeah, one, it was fun to see Chika in her element, at a slumber party, just shooting the breeze and talking for hours on end, which maybe not Kaguya's cup of tea, but for her, like, it's like I'm in my prime now.
Yeah.
And obviously talking about love, she's like, those boys, they're in love. I can tell. You can't fool my sense of smell. I know there's love sickness or whatever. It's so great.
love Detective
The interesting
Chika.
thing is, Detective Chika. The interesting thing is she can't, like, she's able to figure out who you likes, which is, wow, great skills in that. But why can't she figure out who Miyuki likes? Why is that so difficult? Is it because it's right under her nose?
I would say I think Chika is really good with or has a really good emotional sensor. Like she can understand what people feel. Has good empathy, but her deductional skills of actually figuring out who the person is, she's not good at that stuff. She's often shown to be creative, to be emotional, and be good in those things, but not to be the best when it comes to being intelligent in the way we often perceive intelligence to be, like being good in math and stuff.
Absolutely, dude. I really like that kind of speculation on for the reasoning there, because you compared to Miyuki is way more openly emotional, obviously.
Yeah.
So I think that would make a lot of sense.
That's true. And Miyuki is probably doing a lot more to hide it than Yu is, whether he realizes it or not.
Totally.
Yeah, so good stuff.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to Yu Ishigami.
I knew it! I called it! He's crushing on Tsubame.
Yes, and he straight up confesses to Kaguya that he does. I thought that was really big of him to straight up say that to anyone, really.
It also was kind of dabbing on Kaguya, on Miyuki, you could say.
True.
He hasn't confessed his feelings to Tsubame directly yet, so he hasn't beat Kaguya in that sense yet.
Yeah, but at least one more person than himself knows it.
True.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, I find Ishigami's feelings for Tsubame very wholesome and cute. I mean, deep down, I think Ishigami is a very wholesome person, and his attractions to her aren't necessarily because of looks, but yeah, I'm sure that's a big factor. But it's also because she's a real person who's nice, and kind of treated him um, with kindness, and so to see that those be the reasons, I don't know, it's just kind of like, ah,
Yeah.
nice for Ishigami.
And it was so similar, really, to Kaguya's at least initial reason for falling for Miyuki.
Oh,
That was because he was a nice.
yeah.
He showed her how good he's a really good person, not just to her but to everyone really. And I think Koyasu has that trait as well, similar to Miyuki. So I thought it was nice, especially for you to share that information with Kaguya, who could probably really relate to that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
even though she didn't say it.
Yeah, I think them relating really like the moment where where Kaguya looked down to you with like these cold eyes, said like, yeah, then do everything you can or everything that's in your power to make it come true. Like,
Yeah.
that was really that moment where I felt Kaguya really had the sense of like, we're like-minded, and I'm going to do everything for you because I know what you feel. We are on a, even if you doesn't realize it, maybe they're really on the same level in Kaguya's sense.
I kind of disagree in that I don't think Kaguya is willing to accept the fact that she is like other people. I mean, you look at her conversations with Kashiwagi, she's always like, oh man, what a pain. This person is high maintenance. But she's totally the same way in a lot of ways. She would do the same things. And so I think in this case, it's less that, oh, he's in the same boat I am, and more so, I'm the senpai. I'm the older sister in this situation. I'm going to help you, you know, get over this, or accomplish this because I care about you. At least that's how I interpret it. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I sort of see both, I think, but I think it's especially how Kaguya is she entrusts her belief, or well, she believes in you here, and he feels that, and he feels like for the first time in his life, at least from what he can feel, someone is expecting something from him, or
Right,
of him, and how that helped to push him to study harder than he's ever studied before. Obviously, it wasn't hard enough, but he did his absolute best, we learn. And he did it because Kaguya, had her expectations high for him. And like, I'm sure that's not the first time someone has had high expectations of him, but I'm sure it's the first time that he has felt that. Because I think after the sports festival arc where he had that character development, I think he has been able to notice things, like maybe those sorts of positive things from people easier since that time.
Yeah.
And even though they may have been there before, he is now actually able to sense that.
Kaguya, I think, realizes that Ishigami needs someone to expect Ishigami to be better. And at the end of the day, we see that, at least going forward, it seems that Ishigami is going to try harder and realize his true potential.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for Kaguya, kind of motivating him to do that, then yeah, it wouldn't have happened. So that's some great growth for Ishigami, I think.
Yeah, and like Kaguya gave him that impossible demand or impossible task.
Right.
Maybe she did it on purpose. Maybe she knew, like, yeah, he's not going to be able to make it that far this one time for the exam scores, but it's still something that he will learn from, and that he will be motivated to keep going, like, even further after that.
I hope so.
Definitely.
I hope so.
I mean, especially she like says, yeah, like basically better luck next time. That this is not like the end. Like, this will go on, and I will help you if you need the help. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's basically a lesson that I think you learn. See that it's like, you can try your best and you will fail, but that doesn't mean that that this is a bad thing. Like, you did better than last time, and that is a good thing in itself. Striving for the top is hard, and you may not achieve it, but just being better than yesterday is also something. And well, the next thing is to become better than today.
100%.
That's a good point.
All right. Do we got anything more on you?
Yeah, so the other chapter that is kind of features him is one with him and Miko, where
The love, the
friendship exercises or whatever they call them.
yeah. God.
Did you guys find those exercises a little more romantic than friendly?
Absolutely, like sharing a chop, sharing like these
Yeah,
Mikado sticks or whatever they are called. I don't know. Like,
the hokey, yeah.
yeah,
Spoon
yeah.
feed each other.
Yeah,
Clean your
it's
ear.
like,
Oh God.
I mean, I guess that's friendship-y, but it's also, something that couples do. I don't know. It's like, are they trying to ship them, or are they trying to help them? Obviously, it backfired until the very end, but
I have to say I want to mention it earlier. I just love how Miyuki is standing in the background all of the time because he made all the plans and they're all fucking horrible. And they're all complaining all the time. He's just standing in the background, all depressed. My plans aren't that bad.
Yeah, I know, or at least it's implied here that Miyuki was the one who put together the exercises. But we know also that Osaragi was, probably working with him on that, because at least she drew the images, and she might have also had a hand in coming up with the exercises. And you brought up the idea, James, that it felt more like a shipping thing than a friendship thing,
yeah.
which
Oh, good
absolutely
point.
with some of these, and so what I was thinking is, if Osaragi has also been responsible for helping Miyuki put together these exercises, I could totally see her shipping these two.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
she
Not so much
knows
Miyuki.
she
Yeah.
knows what both of them are like on a deeper level than Miyuki does, and I think I think it's definitely a good possibility that she is shipping them hard.
I would also say
I
Miyuki's
agree with
probably
that.
too dense to realize that this is more couple than friendship stuff.
Yeah.
I could see that. I think it's funny how the love versus hate thing, or not love versus hate, but love, or the you know, it's the tsundere thing, or they hate each other so much they actually love each other. I mean, it's a standard trope. And like I said last week, I'm starting to see the ship of Ishigami and Miko. Like I can see it happening. And I think with this chapter, you get another sign where that could be a possibility. However, they do, is instead of like blushing at that, or giving some sort of hint of that, they instead go immediate to, oh yeah, I guess I kind of like him, or I can tolerate him, or whatever, in order to prove the fact that they don't like each other.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I appreciated that.
Like I shortly mentioned, like for me, I always see like always use the term like love and hate are two different sides of the same coin. Like we love to hate and we hate to love sometimes. And with this, or here in Germany, we also have the saying like, well, if you're mean to each other, that's a sign you like each other. So there could be those things, but I don't know. Like I don't like the ship of you and Ino because I like they say themselves, there's not much like connecting those two, unlike with other characters, where I see like at least some familiarity between those.
I strongly disagree with that.
I don't know. I just feel like when you was like listing some positives about Ino, and Ino just said like, yeah, I'm not coming up with anything, even though it's played off a bit as a joke, it's still kind of like, well, aren't you coming up with anything here? Like, shouldn't be that hard. There's good parts about him. Like it shows me lack of interest maybe, and that's kind of the weird thing for this ship, I think.
Well, I think the foundation of this ship is the fact that these two characters have so much in common. Like they are so much alike each other in their like moral, like just basically how dead set they are on basically making sure everyone's treated justly and looking out for each other behind each other's backs and all of that.
I don't know if that isn't much to like give love or like give me the feeling of a ship there, because there are characters like you and Kaguya that just like also support each other and can be just friends, and here it's just like, yeah, they have the same like code of morality or like same sense of justice, but I don't know. I think their personalities just don't. They play well off comedically, but I don't see that as a like good functioning relationship or something that where I say like, yeah, that would be cool if those characters like come together now. It's just like it doesn't feel like it. feels more for me like something that would be forced from the outside than like grow normally right now. But I mean, Ino is also a new character here in the student council, so she hasn't had the same like room to grow as the others.
I could see what you're saying, definitely, in that kind of relationship doesn't seem very healthy. However, I think it's also because we're dealing with a lot of tsundere, stubborn children who aren't willing to confess their feelings whatsoever. And I think it may be a deep down kind of a thing where they might dislike each other because of what they do and say, from their, I guess, morals, or what they view as important to them. But at the same time, they are secretly watching each other's back because they think the other person is helpless or needs their help, and that, in a sense, is a sign of love, or a kind of love.
Yeah, I would agree with kind of love. Yeah,
It is the kind of love that they both believe in is the true love.
Yeah,
okay, yeah, you're right in that. Yeah, yeah.
you're absolutely right, and I do think Osaragi bringing up the, those who are mean to each other actually like each other, is kind of a hint at that. At least that's how I took it. Not that they went in that direction right there, but like Petter was saying earlier, it's like Osaragi shipping them, or is kind of pushing their buttons in that sense.
Yeah, I mean, it could be foreshadowing, but it also like it feels a bit like not shallow for me, but it's like you said, it's such a trope in a sense. It's not played off that
True.
tropey as other shows would do it, I think, but it's still like, yeah, those characters don't like each other. Now they come together. Like we've seen that. Like it's not like I'm used to something else regarding relationships. In this
Well, the thing
series.
is, I think it's more like I think there's a reason for that thing being a trope. It's because it actually happens IRL as well. Like it's a real life thing. Like sure, it's exaggerated a lot in fiction, but I do 100% think it's a real, like it's based on reality. So I don't think it's a stretch to not ship them because of that.
Yeah, maybe it's just my lack of experience. But it's just that yeah, here it's yeah, maybe it's just overplayed in for fiction, but yeah, I just don't know like relationships that are based on, well, I wouldn't outright say hate, but well, on being not on the same page on many things, I would say.
Even Osaragi said in one of the previous volumes that they don't hate each other per se. What did she? Do you remember, Petter, what she said exactly?
Well, I think she said first like that those two hate each other, but then she kind of corrects herself and says that, oh no, that's not true. Something along the lines of the fact that they have such strong feelings for each other is sign that they don't actually hate each other, or something like that.
Yeah, I would
Okay,
say
that makes sense.
also that it's not hate, and it's also not that they hate the attitude or like the reasoning of the other person or like their actions or anything. It's or wait, not well. It's more their actions, what they're doing, like what they do with their philosophies and their mantras or their moral, and what their target of this justice and stuff is that differentiates them. And I think that you can have like the same outlook on like, well, stand in for others and keep watch for each other, or like how you would approach different topics. But in the end, I think both of them just don't agree on too many things, or are not just on the same page on different things, even though they have the same justice feeling, even though they have the same morality. Like,
Well, I think both Miko and you, they don't want to come off as something like as everything that they are. Miko more so than you, but even you does it. I mean, we see it in this volume where you. He embraces the fact that he reads manga and that he plays video games, but not that he watches anime.
yeah.
Like that for some reason, that's something where he doesn't want to be associated as an anime otaku.
Yeah, that was another point I wanted to mention is Yeah, he doesn't want people to realize that about him, even though people already know,
Yeah.
or some people don't even care. And actually, I relate to that a lot. I mean, again, James is relating to Ishigami again. Big surprise. So for a long time, I didn't accept the fact that I was a nerd or a otaku. And to be honest, I really wasn't. I watched like Dragon Ball Z and Naruto when I was younger a little bit, but I didn't watch it religiously. And actually the kids who were really into anime and tried speaking Japanese were really weird.
Oh god. Oh god.
I'm kind of cringy in that sense.
Yeah,
So it really put me off to and that was in high school, so clearly, it just put me off to all that. And then just one day, I guess I think I just started watching Attack on Titan, and suddenly my world was open.
Nice.
And it helped that I spoke Japanese at the time,
Right.
still do. But I kind of kept it secret. I didn't want to tell people that I was watching this show or that I started playing these really Japanesey video games. So I feel where Ishigami is coming from, and that you don't want people to judge you because of that, even if they won't per se. Although the writer here, the narrator, kind of plays it off as that no one would probably do it. I disagree with that, especially in America. I think in Japan they still have that stereotype or that's the same sort of mindset where, oh, you're weird if you like that kind of stuff, or I don't want to be anywhere near you.
I grew up as like saying to myself, I'm a nerd. I know that. I like video games. I like anime. I like this shit. Like, big surprise. Like, people that knew me like knew that shit about me, and I wasn't like uncomfortable like saying that or acting that way out because it was like the shit I liked, and I talked to people that liked that shit.
That's awesome. That was not me. I was embarrassed to even say I was playing Pokemon.
Really? Like, Pokemon's
Me
goddamn
too,
big. Like,
dude. Me as
what?
well. Like
What?
back in like middle school, I was
Yeah.
so
No.
like
Never.
shut off. Yeah, dude.
I couldn't.
Maybe it's just me being a really open person, just saying, hey, I like this stuff, and then I like this stuff, and I care.
I think you had a great friend group. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, I also say I had a friend group that like I know back from kindergarten, and so we are people with a lot of different interests, but we are still close friends because, well,
That's great.
we know each other that long, and that also grounds you a bit, I think, because of course there are people like running around trying to screaming things like Baka or Nietzsche and shit like that, and you're just like, what the fuck's going on here?
Oh no.
Yeah, that's the cringe side. That
And
kinda-
what grounds you from doing that is a friend group that just goes to you and say like, the fuck's wrong with you?
Yeah.
So you just
Yeah.
like you don't, but it's okay if you like anime and shit. It's like you just like, yeah, anime, it's cool stuff. I like it, but well, there's always this like border of going like off the deep end, especially with like anime. I mean, we've all probably seen things. We all had the power of God and anime on our side at once in our life, I think.
Totally, dude.
Once in my life, I currently have the power of God and anime on my
Yes.
side. So yeah, no. So I sympathize with Ishigami here, and I like how wholesome it is that him and Miyuki are kind of bonding over a manga, in that sense.
And betraying each other.
Yeah, that he just like straight up betrays Miyuki. It's like, no, I don't watch that kind of stuff. Well, I'm not
Yeah.
excited about that. Cringe. It's like, what? You can't just leave your bro out dry like that.
Oh,
Come on.
And Miyuki's face
Yeah.
when he realizes he's been betrayed.
Oh man.
Oh
Now that
god.
we're just shortly talking about face, I love the face of both of them when they imagined once Miyuki with Tsubame and you with Kaguya together, and both their faces like, ha, how stupid would that be? Oh god.
Yeah. Those are the best faces in this whole volume.
It's so good.
The best face in this volume is fainted Chika for me.
Oh,
Oh
like,
yeah. Yeah. That's probably the best.
Akasaka nailed it with the faces this volume.
He did. He really
Yeah,
did.
yeah.
I think that's all I have on Ishigami.
Same.
Yeah.
All right then, let's talk about my girl Miko Ino. First of all, the way she texts, I love it.
Oh god,
Oh
yes.
my gosh. Really? You like that?
Dude, I'm so into that. Honestly, it's kind of relatable in a way because I know that. So when maybe not so much anymore, but when I was young, like I guess when I was Miko's age or so, I didn't like emote a lot. I think like with my face. like when I was with people and stuff like IRL, doing IRL stuff, I was kind of, I don't know, I was very shy back then, and I didn't I mean, obviously I did have friends, and I had a good time. I was able to enjoy my life and all, but I didn't take a lot of space in school and stuff like that. But I quickly learned that if I don't use emojis in while texting, people are gonna think that I'm like angry or something like that. Because
God.
something happened at some point where someone misunderstood me because they thought I was like really serious about something in text. And like basically since that incident, I mean maybe not as much anymore. I mean I still think I sometimes overuse emojis, but back then, like after that incident, I started using them way much, like a lot, just to kind of overcompensate for that, and I didn't want to risk being misunderstood again. So in that regard, I can sort of relate to Miko, and I could maybe see it being maybe a similar reason for her, as to just really like
Yeah.
she doesn't want to come off as sort of what she is, I guess. Like she is this really serious person, but she doesn't want to come off as that. And I think that also plays along with her kind of daydreaming when there was a chapter with her and Kobachi when Miko was still really new at the student council, and Miko had this dream or this fantasy of when she joined the student council that everyone would be super strict on her, and she would be like the breath of fresh air that just kind of comes into the student council with these new kind of chill or lax ideas, which obviously was unrealistic of her to expect that. But like she did have that kind of fantasy, to be just cooler or more relaxed than she actually is. And I think that might be what she's trying to do while texting, by just adding all these emojis to come off as more easygoing kind of.
I never thought about it that way, but yeah, it makes a lot of sense when you put it that way. I for myself must say, seeing the text Ino wrote gave me just eye cancer, because as someone as myself who just uses like 3 emojis and maybe XD, and that's it. Like
Yeah.
I just looked at that and was like, oh my god. What is this?
This might also be like the fact that I'm such a massive Miko fan that I'm able to, I guess. Okay, I don't think like this is obviously a super minor thing in the first chapter. This little but
Yeah,
like
yeah.
just because I love Miko so much, I just have to dig deeper. Like I need to figure out what could be the reason behind this.
I don't need sleep. I need answers.
Yup, basically.
You know, I was kind of surprised at first when you said that, but and thinking it wasn't, or I thought it was a bit much, but hearing your explanation and looking at the picture again, it's really not terrible, in the sense that there are some people who don't have complete sentences and only commute with emoji, and it's really weird. That's not this case. This is
Right.
She's still using complete sentences, but there's emojis sprinkled within, so it's not as bad as I thought at first. And actually, speaking of emojis, before I got on Discord, I kind of disliked them. I didn't use them much. Sometimes I would use like the Japanese emoticons, like some of the ones she has here.
Yeah.
With the cute, because I thought they're kind of cute, and it's what the hip people in Japan are doing. So
Right.
try to implement that. But once I got more comfortable with Discord, and honestly, I think it was because Titan Tea Time Discord, I just started using more of the emojis.
Nice.
And yeah, now I can't get rid of it.
We got good emojis.
We do. We really do. So anyway, I could see the viewpoint that Miko wants to, or has this serious facade, but deep down she adores cuteness and wants to, I guess, express herself in that way. And so this is even the real Miko, or maybe real is not the right word. Just another side of her
Yeah.
that she wants to portray.
Absolutely.
She seems to be a bit closeted sometimes, in that she wants to be more girly than she shows herself to be. I kind of get that feeling, and especially like with this text.
Yeah.
It was a really, really like girlish text in a sense, so it kind of gives me feeling like when she's in private and like a conversation, this was a direct message as far as I remember.
Yeah.
It's she can be her more true self, I guess, which is this girly side of her.
Yeah.
To that point, she replies to Kaguya, "Don't leave me on read," and that I don't know if that's something that. So, would that be something that she would say in real life in similar context? Maybe because we do understand that she is a bit self-conscious and worried that people dislike her or something like that, but she's not always open about sharing that worry that she has. So maybe she feels she can be a little more open, a little more herself via text. But maybe I'm just reading too hard into it.
No, I think that's a good possibility.
So moving on, she seems Osaragi makes a comment that she's pretty forgiving of people if even they show like the most minute kindness towards her, and we've understood this in the previous volume, but you look back to when she was first introduced, you wouldn't necessarily guess that. You would think she would kind of hold grudges or be less willing to forgive other people than she actually is, as long as they are kind to her. So I guess we're just seeing more of her, I don't know, kindness deprived? I don't know how else you say it.
Right.
Anyway, I just thought that was interesting to see that from her.
Absolutely. I agree. And like, yeah, I didn't have too much more on Miko other than the little text that I went on about. But one thing that's kind of related to her and you is that I just kind of like, if only she and him had been able to hear each other, like at the beginning of that chapter with them, when they both were saying basically the same sorts of things, like how they view like what a good deed is, and that it's its own reward, and that kind of stuff. If only they've been able to hear each other say that, I wonder what.
Maybe they would change their thoughts on each other. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I just wonder where that could have led if they knew those sorts of things about each other. If they and even if they knew, if they, I guess, confessed to each other that they have been helping each other out behind their backs and stuff like that. Obviously, they're both too, I guess, embarrassed / proud to do that, though. But yeah, it's interesting. Anything more on Miko?
No, not really. She hadn't had that much to do here, so.
Then let us move on to Hayasaka.
Sorry, I did have a couple more.
Okay. Go for it.
So, just because I wanted to separate this from the Ishigami talk, is that same chapter where they're trying to be friends or whatever, and she can't say any positive traits about Ishigami, and I know we touched on that, but we kind of, I wanted to put it in her spot because I feel like it's really unfair of her to not be able to name anything that's good about him, and he was able to point out the good things about her. I think that can go back to her being such a tsundere, in that back when Ishigami had he cooked the fried rice and it was really good, and she was debating giving it a 1 or a 10.
Yeah.
I think it goes back to that. She's not willing to give him any sort of credit, any sort of points, because then he'll obviously snicker at her and say, "Oh, really?" or something like that. So maybe that's why she didn't want to say anything. And I think she does have positive things to say, or can. She just refuses to acknowledge them.
I think so too.
Yeah, it could be.
It's a bruh moment for me. And one other thing is, she called you a liar. She called you specifically, Petter, a liar. No, just kidding. She called Ishigami a liar. That joke's getting old, I know. Called Ishigami a liar when he said that he studied for the test. And I understand she doesn't have the highest appeal of him, and he hasn't deserved that. But at the same time, give the guy a break. I mean, I know this is their relationship, but it did kind of rub me the wrong ways after all he's been through. But again, he didn't take it personally. I guess that's just how she views me, and maybe he doesn't really care.
Yeah. Also, she doesn't know much about like what he went through this time around, and just knows the normal Ishigami that just like, I'm not going to do anything, and then does nothing.
Yeah, honestly, I think her judgment is fair, honestly, in that one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because, I mean, and I think the reason why Yu isn't upset or anything by that is because he knows himself that, yeah, usually this would have been a lie.
We've seen the last
Yeah.
exam. It's yeah.
Yeah, but I do like, though, that she is still, in her own way, sort of looking out for him. Like, she says, like, don't fail your exam. She tells him, like, which is, to me, sounds a little bit like a good luck Ishigami. She doesn't say it that way, obviously, but it kind of comes off as that way. But then she obviously kind of uses the excuse, like, oh, since you're a member of the student council, like, you have to be a good example to the others and stuff like that. But
Oh,
I,
okay.
I want to view that as her, like, in her own way, saying good luck to him.
Yeah. I agree with that.
Yeah, I could see that.
So I think that's nice.
Anyway, sorry. I'm gonna try to be more precise and not say everything that I have written down or anything like that.
Oh, it's all right, dude.
So we can move forward.
I always enjoy talking about Miko more.
True. That's why I'm surprised you didn't mention it.
All right, then. Now let's move on to Ai Hayasaka.
Yes, please.
Yes, Lucas's girl.
I really just love the rap scene where like this burst of emotion from like a girl that often comes around that's really like not emotionless but like really well held back on what she shows others, and like she is calls herself like a hydra, like a snake with multiple heads,
Yeah.
that she really maybe doesn't know herself what who she truly is. And I also like that she is in her cosplay, basically in her crossdresser outfit in that moment, which shows like, well, even like right now she technically is still in that position of like she has to do what has to be done and well to please her mistress in some way, even though the relationship for what they want to have is like not that of mistress and servant, but well, Kaguya still abuses that sometimes. And getting to hear that, like we said earlier, it felt goddamn satisfying for me.
Yeah. And I mean, Kaguya really needed to hear that. And I think
Yeah.
the moment she realizes, I mean, because she hasn't, as I said when we talked about Kaguya earlier, this isn't something that Kaguya, I think it has never even been on Kaguya's mind. Like, the possibility that Hayasaka feels some kind of, well, bad in some way.
Yeah, it's like she just accepted it the way it is, kinda.
Yeah, it's just how it's always been, and so she doesn't question that. But it's, I think, at the moment when she looks at Hayasaka, and for a moment when Hayasaka is just venting, she sees her, like, she sees the real Hayasaka, like she sees her as, like, not the dressed up Hayasaka, and just that she just sees Hayasaka as this girl who just wants to be a normal girl and do
Yeah.
normal things. That's when she just realizes that, because it's a struggle that Kaguya has and yeah, she has had it and has it still as well. So like, not only just understanding but also being able to relate, I think made Kaguya just really want to help Ai out as soon as she could, which she did.
Still, I think she's not completely quite over it, because still we see in the end, even though she gets that like help from the outside now with her like job, it's she's still there like brushing Kaguya's hair, and I don't know if it's a thing between those two girls that they just do, but it still feels like a bit servant master relationship in that specific scene.
I mean, they still will be that, just not as often. Like, at least from what I understood it, like, Hayasaka will still have the job as Kaguya's servant, but she won't.
I mean, of
work.
course that is her job, but it kind of still feels like it's not, we're not really over that. We just made it a bit better. And I mean, of course, it is what it is, basically, but leaving this rent with what I've, in the end, like, I had a bit of a feeling of, like, it felt good, but it only is, like, a moment. And even with some leverage taken off, it doesn't feel like much has changed, really.
I mean, I guess I can see what you mean in the sense that we haven't necessarily seen exactly how Hayasaka's life has progressed since this all happened. Since there weren't any chapters really. Oh well, there was there was the chapter with her and her mother, but it didn't really focus on the aspect of her life that she wanted to improve. So I think there's still room to explore that and see just
Mm.
how.
I mean, still in that scene, the first thing Kaguya did was call Hayasaka out when she got cornered. So still the same thing she did chapter 1 when she got cornered by Miyuki. Like it's basically you could say the first chapter and the last chapter pretty much showed exactly the same thing happening in the relationship between Hayasaka and Kaguya. Even though in the middle it should have changed a bit, that she wouldn't call it out in the end, maybe.
No, I disagree because, well, it's like Hayasaka's like basically the conditions that changed was that Hayasaka wouldn't work as many days of the week, or like before she basically worked 24/7, but from that point on she only worked, what was it, like 3 or 4 days a week, which basically still means that whenever she is on duty she will still do the same things. It's just but she won't work as often, which will give her time to do her own things.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that was one of her complaints that she doesn't have time to do her own thing. But what I see there is also that she also complained about the bad girl with an attitude and all her goddamn demands. And this was also something she complained about, and that, like,
True.
that whole part is basically directly shown that this part hasn't changed. Only part of her complaints, only part of her problem there has been like not solved, but like changed. And that was like the easy part for Kaguya to change, to just like get someone to help her out. Like that's the easy part, especially in someone like Kaguya's position with like basically when it comes to family wealth, unlimited power to just employ someone to help her. That is easy to do, but to actually like recognize that your demands are maybe something you should not be so well demanding with.
Hmm.
I don't, especially with like the last chapter where, like I said, the daddy thing, uh, where she just showed that she didn't learn her lesson there completely.
Fair. No, I think that makes sense. It's not something that I necessarily thought about, but I do see your point. Like, while yeah, it's not ideal yet, it's realistic at the same time. I think like this
Yeah,
makes sense with Kaguya's character. It wouldn't have made sense for her to just immediately be independent and not need Hayasaka. That wouldn't have made
yeah,
any sense. So I think this is logical.
yeah.
So I think it's interesting that in her rap she mentions I had to make all these personas from your demands. And I kind of felt that was contradictory to her in the previous volume where she mentioned or well, it's the whole reason why Miyuki wants to do this in the first place is that you're never going to be truly loved if you're or people don't want to see your true self
Hmm.
or you got to have a facade, a persona. So I kind of wondered how much where's the truth in between that. I think it's true that she had to make all these persona because of Kaguya's demand. I mean, well, partly because of just the whole Shinomiya and Hayasaka relationship, in that they can't people can't know that they're servant and master, and so she has to have all these disguises with Chika and whatnot. So I get that, but then where does the whole you won't be truly loved unless you wear a mask, more or less. Where does that come into her feelings? So I do think we see a bit of the true Hayasaka here, and I love that, and it really you kind of see that progression and understanding come between Kaguya and Hayasaka. But at the same time, I think there still is something to be said about the masks or why maybe she feels she has to be the different personas or whatever,
Right.
um,
Hmm.
and can't be loved like that. That's the key though that I don't quite understand yet, and I hope we get more information on later on.
The best idea that I have on that is not necessarily related to like romance, which I think, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, because I think her putting on a mask is for being liked, both maybe in a romantic way, but also just in general being liked by people.
Yeah, that's how I took
Hmm.
it more generally.
And
Mm-hmm.
we learned, and I think I mentioned this recently, in a recent episode, and it's
Oh.
something that well, there's one thing where in the character biography for Hayasaka in like volume 2 or 3, it appeared like between two of the chapters. just like a little information dump kind of on her character. If I recall, I could be wrong about this, but if I recall, it said something about like along the lines of when she was a kid, younger, like when she started working for Kaguya when they were 7 or so, like she didn't have these fake personas, but she started assuming them later after, but because it seemed like Kaguya kind of accused her of being like a crybaby. And we also, another thing that we know about Kaguya is that she has been warming up as a person, like very much since she met and fell in love with Miyuki. So before recently, she was this, Ice Kaguya. So back then when she and when I just started working for her, she was definitely probably a very cold little girl, and I imagine for I to have to deal with that, I can definitely see how she would kind of change herself to make up for what Kaguya didn't like about her, in a way.
Okay.
That
Interesting.
could be maybe part of the reason, but it's just kind of going off of that.
I like it.
Yeah, I never thought about that. Yeah.
I wonder if it has something to do with the father that we've never met yet. If there's if that even plays a part in it, because moving on to her mom, I mean, clearly the mom loves her, and not because of any sort of airs that Ai puts on. I mean, she immediately like just kind of melts in her hand, and you could tell that she's a mama girl. So I don't think it's because of her mom at all, which I thought beforehand, like maybe that could have been a possibility, but now I'm just kind of like, no, man, her mom is way too sweet, even though probably very busy, but way too sweet to not love her daughter for her true self.
Right. That was really sweet to see her with her mother and just how happy she looked. Like she was so happy. Just the moment she saw her mom, oh man, that just warmed my heart to see Hayasaka so happy. Do we got anything else on Hayasaka? Oh, actually, I do.
Well, there's your answer then.
Yes. So I had just one last thing about Hayasaka is how when she realizes that Kaguya doesn't know about read notifications, for a moment she considers just letting that go, like just letting things pan out as they would without her intervening, just because she just wants her and Miyuki to get their battles over with, because obviously Kaguya be like stressing out over what to do about her feelings for Miyuki and all that has been causing Ai a lot of stress. So I totally get why she considered that. Ultimately, she didn't do it. She actually helped Kaguya out big time. But yeah, I thought it was still interesting to kind of just see that thought process from her.
Especially there wasn't an order from Kaguya to help her, so I feel like she felt more comfortable and just like staying back, because if she doesn't say anything, I can just let this whole car crash. Yeah. And just stay by and watch.
Yeah, because really, if she hadn't intervened there, Miyuki would have won that battle. He would have won the whole big battle there.
Let me just finally say about Hayasaka is that I loved her character progression in this, and I feel like that before I didn't understand why people would like her as much as they do, besides looks, and I think I really understand why she's appealing and why she has the fans that she does. Not to say that she's like the most liked character, but I did notice that a lot of people found her pretty endearing.
Yeah.
And now I understand more so why. So yeah, I like her character progression. Did not expect to get that from her. Well, I did to an extent, but not this deep.
Right. All right, then let's talk a little bit about Maki Shijo, who I am very happy to, finally she has been involved in the story since the previous volume. And what I just want to say, just to kick off the discussion about her, is that especially, like, obviously we, in the previous volume, that was where we actually finally got to know, like, who she is, what she's about, all that. But seeing it even more in this volume, I just feel so sorry for her. Like, I can't stress that enough. I cannot stress that enough. Like, just the situation that she's in is just so horrible in my mind. It's like, and I don't know what it is, but like, I find myself often being drawn to like these suffering characters for some reason in just any sort of fiction, and she is like really this. She is exactly the kind of person that's suffering that I for some reason tend to like a lot.
But it's comedic gold. It's comedic gold sometimes.
It's comedy, but dude, my heart at the same time.
At least she made some friends in the end.
Yeah, that was honestly that was beautiful. But like in the previous volume, we learned just how complicated her situation is, and you know, she likes Tsubasa, who we now know the name of it. And she and how complicated that is. But at least in the previous volume, she still had she was still on good terms with Nagisa, so that was all cool. But in this volume, we learned that even her friendship with Nagisa is like starting to get shaky. So it's like everything is just getting worse and worse for her, and it just makes me so sad.
I just must say, like, I really like Maki. Her scenes, you like say that they are tragic in a way, but I just love the way, like it's played out. Like they call her Tsundere Senpai, and it's just how she acts towards it, and kind of this match between I've given up hope. It's I don't know it. Every time she's on the page, I'm just having a good time. I don't know, not because of her suffering, but the way she deals with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, obviously it is comedic. Like I can't deny that. But it's just like it's the mix of the tragedy and the comedy that just I really do enjoy it, and it's really unique. I think how it's combined like that in her character. There wasn't, I guess, too much other than that. Other than one other thing, or I mean, maybe you have more. But another thing that I got in her from this volume was, and it's actually related to Nagisa and Tsubasa as well, but I'll mention it here, is that at the end of this volume we learn that Maki and Tsubasa, aka Nagisa's boyfriend in case anyone forgot because his name is very easily forgettable, they are both, or at least from what they feel right now, they both want to move on to outside universities after high school. Meanwhile, Nagisa is set on continuing to the Shuchin University. Obviously, this is like so far in the future, so maybe speculating is even like maybe that has no meaning whatsoever. But just based on that, I feel like Nagisa and Tsubasa are going to have to go to different schools, guaranteed.
Yeah.
After high school, like that much is certain. But since Maki and Tsubasa are both going to schools other than Shuchin, there's a chance that they might end up at the same school, which may work in Maki's favor, potentially. Although this is such a long shot and it's so far in the future, so I don't even know if it has any relevance.
So you're saying there's a chance?
Yeah.
You're saying there was a chance.
So I felt the same exact way. When I saw that, I was like, oh, boom, there's a chance. She's, okay, here we go. Long distance relationship. They never work out. Like, sometimes they do, especially nowadays. Actually, they probably work a lot more now than they did before. But she has more of a chance now, especially if they end up going to the same college or even the same college town.
Right.
And I do feel really bad for her, but at this point, it's just a waiting game to see whether their relationship falls apart, which you don't want to happen per se. Although I will say I've kind of lost a bit of my respect, I guess, for Nagisa. I used to be like big on the Nagisa train, and I was kind of like, wow, I really like. I mean, I still think she's really hot, but I don't know. I maybe the PDA, the public display of affection, is just kind of getting to me a bit. Especially in this chapter where they're literally in the same club and they're just
not cool,
puppy eyes the whole time. And it's really, I mean, obviously they don't know that she has feelings for him.
Even then, it's still super.
But even
uncool.
then, yeah, it's uncool. It's like, I mean, I know they're children. Technically, they're in high school, but still, it's not cool.
I don't know what her story is about yet, really, in that volume here. It could be kind of about giving up, I guess. About, like, you have these high school crushes, but that is, like, that's not the end if that person doesn't end up with you in the end.
I think there's two options. Either you still crush on the person hard and try to be the fall woman and catch him on the rebound, or you move on. But I'm not exactly sure which way Maki's gonna go here. She may move on, and then it comes back into her court, and she takes it, or
That would be funny.
yeah, it would be funny, or I don't know. She just keeps desperately trying to get them to break up, or just be there for him. I don't know. Or she just keeps crushing him hard. But at the end of the day, I think, or at the very least, she now has a kind of support group. These two friends.
Yeah.
And I think that that's good for her in order to get over it, because she can't go to her supposedly best friend in Nagisa about it, at this point.
Because she's the problem.
Right. So it just helps so much
Uh-huh.
that she's able to get this off her shoulders and just be able to talk. And so I'm happy for her. And like you were saying, Petter, I couldn't say earlier, but I do feel terrible for her. And, I hope there are happy days ahead. Although Kaguya kind of gave her a look at the end. So she better not get on her bad side.
Yeah. Better watch out.
Better watch out.
Yeah. I wish her only the best. As I do with literally every single character in this story. It's like crazy how much I care about all these guys.
It's true.
Yeah, it really is one of the best. I don't really like rom-coms normally, but this one here, the characters just, they're carrying it so much. It's insane.
Right.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
So, a little bit about Nagisa Kashiwagi, perhaps. The only note I took on her is that her exam score dropped again.
Yeah.
Because we were able to compare her exam scores from two of the previous ones, where she was like pretty far high up on the first one, like 7th place or something like that. Then
Something
she
like
dropped,
that.
or
Maybe
fourth.
fourth. It was
Yeah,
fourth.
4th, and then she dropped to 7th, and now she dropped by a lot.
She's in the 30s, isn't she?
Yeah, or
is it
like
20?
late 20s, I think. So this time she dropped so much.
I think it's a mixture of being preoccupied with her boyfriend, romance, but also helping him study, because he just went up. He skyrocketed again.
Yeah, exactly.
Tsubasa wants to be a doctor, so he has. Right, it was a doctor, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So he has to get these good scores if he's going to go into medical school. So it makes sense from that perspective. I do feel bad that suddenly her grades are going down. But I don't know. I mean, if she's happy, good.
I mean, she's still good, so...
Yeah. I mean, that's still, she's still good. She's still educated and smart.
But I think it's funny how their scores are getting closer and closer together, and now they are super close. Like, he's in the 30s, and she's, like, in the late 20s. And like, the scoreboard. Like, they are so close at this point. Meanwhile, they started off, like, she was number 4, and he was, like, way down. Like, he was really, really, really far down.
I think was he lower than Ishigami? I can't remember.
I can't remember either exactly, but he was low at least.
Yeah.
So it's really fun, I think, how they, I guess, maybe not only
I guess it's
the
kind
fact...
of romantic.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. And, like, it's not just the fact that she's spending time tutoring him, but maybe also that they are just in general kind of rubbing off on each other in regards to how motivated they are to do schoolwork. I think that's and I mean, that could go along the lines of their romance and like how that's progressing.
To be fair, being in a serious relationship does take time.
Yeah. True.
Especially in the dating phase. So yeah, it makes sense.
And about Tsubasa, real quick, he finally got a name after 104 chapters.
No last name though.
No last name yet. And also, I legitimately had forgotten that he did get a name. Even though I read up to volume 16, I had totally forgotten that he ever got a name. So it's really, it's just like the jokes in this volume. Like it seems like the volume itself forgets that he had a name basically the moment that chapter is over.
What was your name again?
I thought that was really funny, and at least this time I'll make an effort to try to remember it.
Me too. Maki kind of really lists some of the reason why she likes Tsubasa, but I won't go into him other than the fact that he's really nice person, very
Right.
forgiving, and kind of similar to reasons Kaguya liked Miyuki. She liked him because he was a nice guy. And it was just interesting to see that that would be the reason why she would grow feelings for him.
Yeah, I don't want to judge her feelings for him because I think that's maybe not so cool. But I have a suspicion that this crush that she has on him might just be something that I like to just call like a high school crush. Well, I mean, this is literally a high school crush, but it's basically a crush where it's just really shallow and like you have these really strong feelings, but it just feels that way because you don't actually know the person really well yet.
Yeah.
And you have this idea in your head of what this person is like, which is just really just a made up thing. It's like just a fantasy, but it's like it's a really common thing for well, yeah, girls and boys in high school. I think to have those sorts of crushes on people that they barely really know, and I have the suspicion that this might be that kind of thing.
Yeah, it really feels like that, especially like we now get her like more as well, more upfront character that like gets a whole chapter to her, but we only got like the name of the guy she's interested in. Like it feels like he's unimportant for now. Like especially we got this characters into him, but for the other relationships, like the counterpart is also kind of important. But here it's just like treated as someone without a name even up until now. So it kind of feels like really more crushy than relationship like for like the other characters are.
Yeah, absolutely. So do we want to move on to the last few characters?
Yes.
Yes, I think it's a good thing.
Next one, Mr. Shirogane, the
Yeah,
man,
the daddy himself.
Daddy Shirogane.
When you look at him in the panels, he's like he looks kind of weird. He looks kind of stern. He doesn't look like very friendly. But when it comes down to it, like he has so much charisma to just go up to people, kind of understand what they're about, and then just
Totally.
well work with them towards their goals. Like we see it with Kaguya, he figured all of the stuff out. Like he knows how to interact with her and like well in a sense do what's good for her, even though she doesn't like want it. She just
Right.
goes for it.
And the interesting thing too is that we learn that that's basically his job is to understand people, which is really really cool to learn about that. And man, like one of the funniest, I know we're not talking about comedy right now, but we're talking about Mr. Shogun, and I just can't not mention it, is just his introduction into this chapter, where you just see somebody's feet appearing before Kaguya, you flip the page and boom, it's his face right there, and that's so funny, and just it killed me.
It's just like well, I think there's no moment where Kaguya doesn't switch to pure panic when this man arrives.
Understandable at this point. Understandable.
He really is like portrayed as the end boss for Kaguya, and it's
Kind of like Chika is the end boss for Hayasaka.
oh god yes.
Oh yeah, I love it. But yeah, he was great throughout this whole chapter. I think like just seeing how he just deals with all of that and how he interacts with all of the characters in the chapter. It's just really enjoyable to follow along with.
He's like I think the epitome of a straight man, like even more than you, because he just comes in and he just okay, that's what we're gonna do, let's go, bam.
Yeah, this is how we get it done. Like,
I mean, it's really also when he act like they weren't even like done discussing about like if he should go in as like Kaguya's well step-in father. I don't know what to call it else, but he when it said like yeah Kaguya's like guardians, just turning around like yeah let's go.
yeah, yeah, love him.
This man always like his facial expressions and how he acts and stuff. It's always just a pleasure. Like watching that guy interact with the other characters.
Absolutely.
Especially that he is so weird, but then as a reader you're like, yeah, but he's right in kind of a way. I know he's weird, but yeah, listen to him.
Yeah, dude, he's wiser than he might come across as.
Like this version of the character of like someone that just comes in and wreaks chaos and still like is still a straight man. It's beautiful. I love it.
Yeah, and I think the straight man aspect is like what's added to that even more is his Shirogane intense eyes,
Yeah.
sort of that like just having those eyes all the time just really adds to that, I think, in a really funny way.
Mm.
Do either of you have anything more on him though?
Not much, but he left an impression on me.
For sure.
Oh, he's a funny guy. My introvert side feels very uncomfortable with him around, though. um, so I feel for Kaguya in this situation. I just don't like people who are pushy and all up in my business like that.
Fair.
But I know he's a good soul, if not a little weird, and he is funny. So there is that.
Yeah.
And I know of course he means well. I know a lot of people
Right.
who are like that mean well.
Actually, he is my second favorite character after Hayasaka.
What?
Yeah.
I do not get it.
That's
Yeah,
that's
I do not
awesome.
get it.
I love this guy. That this man is just. I not just for what the future comes. Just already here, he's like.
Really?
I don't know. I always just. He comes on screen, and I know I'll just enjoy whatever will come next.
Honestly, I agree.
I think he's hilarious.
Yeah, good. Well, let's talk about the last character, now Hayasaka.
Oh, her name's Now.
Like she has the same deadpan expression. You instantly see like where Hayasaka got a lot of her mannerisms from, especially her
Totally.
her sadistic tendencies towards teasing others.
Yes, I was actually about to say that as well. How
Yeah.
her mother has like the same kind of like she gets the same kind of kicks out of just pushing Kaguya's buttons, basically. It was just kind of challenging Kaguya. I thought that was really sweet,
Yeah.
but I didn't have much else.
No, that's all I had to say. I like how she goes along with the joke, even if it is absurd. But it's pretty great. She's kind of playful in that way.
Yeah. So let's move on to the comedy discussion.
Ishigami's disappointed face when it's just a side thing, but he tries to explain to Kage why Discord is better, and she's like, "What?"
Yeah.
He's just like hurt and
Yes.
but also disappointed.
I love that.
It was a real gamer moment, and I felt that.
Yeah, dude, absolutely.
True bro gamer
Oh my
moments.
god. My favorite comedy chapter was the chapter about the otaku chapter was my favorite chapter from a comedic standpoint, where there were
Yeah.
two parts that I have to shed light on that were just hilarious. Like I was laughing. My neighbors could probably hear me laughing through the walls. Like I was laughing so loudly. First, when Chika is kind of criticizing moe anime without realizing she is basically that. that was great. But what really just finished that off with the biggest laughter I had all week or all month. Anyway, I laughed a lot. Was when Miyuki just loses it and just goes crazy and accuses everyone of being an otaku. Like, you're an otaku.
Yes.
You're an otaku.
Yes.
You're an otaku. Oh, that was
great.
so uncalled for, and I just loved it.
Deep down, we're all otaku at heart.
Sometimes the best defense is attack.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. He went on the offensive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of course, in comedy, the whole volume starting up with the phone chapter, that was also comedic, really just good. Of her not knowing what's going on, Hayasaka just looking down on her okay, let's see what's going to happen here, and it's slowly playing out. I don't know why, but I felt like this whole first chapter, I know it just was because maybe it's such a concept that I'm familiar with, where it's this whole read concept and sometimes trying to avoid that red notification. I don't know, this whole tiptoeing around it.
Yeah.
It felt so close. I had to laugh about the stupidity of it because I just know it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's relatable in a sometimes a little bit of an embarrassing way.
Yeah.
My favorite line from Shirogane Dad is, "How about as your father-in-law?" And Kaguya's like, "Please stop talking." When Kaguya says that, it's like, I felt that. That made me laugh a lot.
Nice. My last thing on comedy is from the rapping part, where, well, first of all, Miyuki is wearing the slave driver's headband, which was, we talked about how the roles were, they were teaching each other, and so it was fun to see him wearing the headband, but also one part where Chika just kind of had just learned how to rap, and she just disses Miyuki so hard, and after she's done dissing him like hardcore, all he says is cool, like
Cool.
and it was like a legit cool too. Like he was impressed. He didn't take any of those insults. Like he was just like,
What a champ.
Cool. I like that a lot.
So good. Chika was really funny this volume, as she is a lot of the time, but she had some really great moments that with the nosebleed and whatnot.
Totally. I can't wait to hear this rapping in the anime.
Oh god, yes. Oh god. Oh my god.
That should be fun.
That's one of the main things that I'm super excited for. Anything more, or should we move on to the final bit?
I think for me the final bit it could be.
Lovely. Then let us talk about the romance. And let us start by talking about the sleepover video call.
Oh, yeah.
I think. Chika and Kate team up to get Miyuki to fess up.
I thought that was a romantic, like almost get a confession kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, granted, like it wasn't going to happen there. But we kind of had two of those this volume with the first chapter and then this one.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they're teases, but I don't know, they're still kind of thrilling romantic moments, I think.
For sure. So, just one last thing. It's a silly thing. Well, I know James likes shipping. So I'm gonna try to do some shipping with you here.
You're going on sailing here, okay?
Yes. So a couple volumes back, when Daddy Shirogane was first introduced into the story, James tried to think of someone that he could ship with him.
Oh no!
Back then,
oh, no.
back then his best idea was Chika's older sister, which obviously we all agreed.
It was a joke.
I know. But which obviously it's funny. But however, now I was thinking, what if Mommy Hayasaka is single? Dude.
I mean, yes. The thought never crossed my mind. That's why I'm laughing.
They even act as a couple sort of at the end of this volume.
You know, especially how well she played off of him. It
right?
may not be a bad idea. It just
dude.
depends on what her relationship status is.
Right, and exactly, it really depends on that, and obviously we have zero stuff to go on, but just like if we're thinking of possible candidates for him, like romance for him, then I think maybe her, and especially like the fact that they were basically acting as if they were a couple at the very end of this volume, and maybe, you know, it would be kind of funny if that actually maybe became the storyline later on.
That would be pretty funny.
And this is definitely not anything that I thought of before. Like when I read it the first time, never thought of that, because I don't usually think of shipping that much. But James has kind of made me do it more.
Yeah.
I mean, you may have built this ship for James, but goddamn, I'm sailing it.
Yes. we're all on it, I think, maybe. Hopefully.
Yeah, I can get on that. I mean, I think. I hope there is more interaction between those two, because they made a good duo.
Right? Totally.
We were at a point in a teenage high schooler romance comedy where we're shipping the parents. Okay.
Yes, I love it. Oh, yeah.
Wait a minute.
Oh, that's great. I love that. All right then. Good stuff. I think that covers everything.
Yes, it does, I guess.
Right?
Yes, it does.
So I'll ask you first, James. Favorite character or characters at this point in the story?
So favorite character is still Ishigami.
Nice.
And then Kaguya. Chika, I think is behind Miyuki. Miyuki's just such a good guy. I can't. Yeah. But I think Chika strengthened herself. So she's ahead of Miko in my book. So those are my top 5.
Cool. And while I know that Hayasaka is your favorite, Lucas.
Yeah, I just mentioned earlier, Hayasaka is my favorite. Daddy comes closely on second place.
I love the fact that he's so high up your list. It's beautiful.
And I have to say, it doesn't change if you would ask me for volume 11 or like chapter 218 where I am. It wouldn't change right now. That it really would be for me Hayasaka, Daddy, Kaguya. Like those are the top 3 for me.
Nice.
For like 4 and 5, I wouldn't know right now. I think Tsundere Senpai I also really like a lot. And
yeah.
yeah, for fifth I would probably would have to think more, but yeah, just the comedic thing of Daddy and especially the characterization of Kaguya and Hayasaka. I mean, they're pretty close to each other, so of course both of them like will find their spot in my top 3.
Lovely, lovely. And for me, I still, with this volume, I still have you and Miko tied for my first spot. And Kaguya probably remains in the third spot.
Gotcha.
So yeah, something like that. And yeah, thank you for joining us on this discussion, Lucas. And if you listening to this enjoy our content, you can follow us on Twitter at Umami Manga. And if you like this episode, please share it around with anyone you think might enjoy it as well. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time where we'll talk about Volume 12. Bye bye.
See ya. Bye.